Here's a look at our weather office there. We're in League City, Dickinson area. If you all ever want to come by for a visit, you know, we can host you. You can come by and tour the weather office. And you can see Hurricane Harvey there. Actually, by this time, well, it is a hurricane at this moment. If you look at the upper right there, you can all see the eye of the hurricane making landfall down the coast. That's where they were getting all the wind and surge. We were getting all the very heavy rain and even some tornadoes in the spiral bands on the right-hand side. And then if you look at the lower right there, that's the weather office. All right, so we'll surge staffing. There's 2 people there at all times, at least 2 people. But for Harvey, all hands on deck. So this is shift change. We've got the forecasters briefing each other 8 p.m. on Saturday. And as you all remember, Saturday night is when the worst of the rains came in, right? How many of you remember Harvey? Saturday during the day, the rain stopped, and some people kind of let their guard down. Our job was to say, don't let your guard down. There's a heavy band coming in tonight, and sure enough, that's what happened that Saturday night. So go ahead, Tim. And by the way, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. We'll take them as we go. So, Skywarn spotters, appreciate you all being here today. So important to us for our warnings. Spotter reports are critical for severe weather. We just ask spotters to call us and let us know when they see something severe, and we'll talk about what I mean by severe in a moment. We're asking you to call from a safe location. We don't want you to get out of your car and chase severe weather, like you might see on TV, put yourself in harm's way. We're not really asking you to do that. We want you to spot from where you're at and say, oh, I see it, we've got hail. It's quarter sized or it's golf ball sized hail. I'm going to call the weather office and let them know so they can issue that severe thunderstorm warning. Or I see a funnel cloud, or there's a tornado. I'm going to call the weather service and let them know. Or flash flooding. Be safe, don't forget that. Again, your safety is the most important thing. Spotter reports are critical for us to issue timely and accurate warnings. We have a weather radar. It does tell us some information, and I'll show you lots of radar examples today in the training. But you all are sort of our ground truth in your areas. So you let us know what is happening, and so we can act on that and issue that warning for your communities. Spotter reports can and do save lives. In many cases, a spotter calls in, they see a funnel cloud, we can get a tornado warning out, and then everyone can get that warning and take shelter. Weather radar, as I said, is a useful tool, but it's not complete. It has limitations. We need that actual ground truth information. So we appreciate you all being here. Here's a look at the weather radar. And again, if you ever want to come down for a tour, we'd be happy to show you around. There's a big tower and a ball on top, kind of like this one in this picture. And what's in that blue ball? We have a large radar dish, you can see in the lower right, 28 feet in diameter, huge. It would basically fill this room and then some. You can see a ladder there in the lower right as a scale of reference there. And what the radar does, it sends out a pulse of energy, and then it goes into listening mode. It listens for that return energy to come back. The return energy is referred to as an echo. All right, kind of like in this room, I can shout something out. You can hear a little bit of a bounce back or an echo. In this case, it gets the return off of targets like hailstones, raindrops, and the time it takes for the pulse to go out and come back, we can map out where that rain area is. So remember that Harvey radar map, it's actually mapping out where the rainfall is. Now it's sending this energy out, and it's actually turning all the way around as it's doing it, so it can map out the whole area. After it goes around one time at half a degree above horizontal, not straight out, but just a little bit above, it then ratchets up a degree, and then it goes up again and up again. So it's actually taking slices of the storm, kind of like a medical scan, like a CAT scan kind of thing. And so why do we need to do that? Well, there are often clues up in the storm before we see the weather at the surface, like the hail or the high winds. There might be an indication high up. For example, a hail core that then descends to the ground, and when it hits the ground, we see the hail at the surface, we see the high winds. Of course, we're also in the storm looking for circulation that might indicate a tornado. So we'll talk a lot more about that in the training. But if you look at this map, I've got a couple of different thunderstorms here, one at 40 miles away and another at over 100 miles away from the radar. And we can see a whole lot more detail in the storm that's 40 miles away. There's several cuts that we can view the storm with. But as you get further and further out, you start to overshoot the storm. You don't see things at the low levels. Go ahead, Tim, click on that. Now, interestingly, storms right at the weather office we can't see very well either with the radar. We have to look out the window for those. And that's because the highest scan is 20 degrees. So the bulk of that storm is in what we call the cone of silence. And so we actually don't get a lot of good information for storms that are too close to the radar. So there is kind of that sweet spot of about 20 to 60 miles away where we have the best view of the storm with the radar. Bottom line is, wherever the storm is, we need those spotter reports. The radar isn't seeing everything, and we need spotters to give us the actual truth of what's going on in those areas. Go ahead and click one more time. So we have that problem very close to the radar. We have that what we call cone of silence. And then far from the radar beam may be overshooting important things like tornadoes and things like that. So that's where the limitations are even greater than here. Okay. One more click. So again, this just goes to that whole overshooting issue. You know, the beam is tilted up above horizontal, and we've got this tornado occurring below that beam level in this case. So spotters make a difference. What we need to know really what's going on. Radar gives us some idea what we think is happening, but you all really need to fill in the gaps. Any questions so far? Yes, sir.
The major airports have radar capabilities. Is there any sharing?
Yes, great question, and I'll show you some examples. Hobby, we're lucky in the Houston area. Both Bush and Hobby have something called a terminal Doppler weather radar. And it's not exactly like ours, but it is very useful. It actually has some advantages. So we have those two additional radars to draw from in this area. And sometimes those radars will see features that we don't see on ours. So that's a great point. We're very fortunate to have those additional radars at our disposal. Now this actually shows the radar network. This does not include those airport radars. But what you can do is you can see where they all are across the region. All the blue dots there, that's a weather service or a military equivalent weather radar. And so this is the one where we're located there in Lead City, Texas. You can see how they're kind of scattered across the region. Now what's actually plotted here is the height of the lowest beam from any radar. So what are we actually showing here? The higher the number, the bigger concern of overshooting. So for example, when we give this talk up in Crockett, up in Houston County, you know, they're just hating because that area there in Houston County is essentially in a radar gap. The height of the lowest of any beam there is around 14,000 feet. So we're not seeing anything below that level. Here in Liberty County, you can see that it is our radar that's closest, and we see some light blues and light greens. So that tells us that the beam height here, the lowest cut, is about 3,000 to 4,000 feet. So that's still not great. We're still not seeing much below 3,000 feet. But we are getting a better view of the storm here in Liberty County than we do in some other areas, like those northern counties. And You see the heavy line here. It sort of delineates our area of responsibility. We have 23 counties in southeast Texas that we're responsible for issuing forecasts and warnings for. You can see other forecast offices across the area. Okay. Go ahead, one more. In fact, this is actually what I was leading into. The Weather Service, we have 122 weather forecast offices across the nation. And each has an area of responsibility. You can see the Houston Galveston office here in Liberty County. You're our county, essentially. We have everywhere from Chambers down to Matagorda Bay, up to Burleson, and up to Houston County. That's our area of concern, where it's our job to let you all know what's coming as far as severe weather. And then we also forecast for the adjacent marine areas. As you go east into Hardin and Jefferson County, that's actually the Lake Charles Weather Forecast Office that is responsible for those areas. Are any of y'all from some of the Lake Charles counties here today by chance? Yep, you we talked earlier. So I can put y'all in touch with their office too, so you can contact them. Okay? All right, go ahead, one more. Now, this is kind of interesting. Like I said earlier, Skywarn is really helping your community. By giving us reports on the weather, we can issue better warnings, people can take shelter, and so you're not only learning about the weather tonight, but you have a way to contribute to public safety for people in your area. And sometimes you may be helping yourself. This is actually some damage that I surveyed up in Livingston, Texas. And what happened is there was a trailer right here where the blue X is. And you can see the little step up into the trailer home. There was a pickup truck parked here. And the man was aware of the severe threat. He knew there was severe weather in the area. He looked out the window and saw a tornado coming. So he stepped out of his trailer right about here. At that moment, he looked back and the trailer started to go up in the air. It pivoted over his pickup truck and went airborne and ended up in the trees over here. And the man had some minor injuries. He was able to survive with just very minor injuries, even though that trailer was pretty much destroyed. And so I'm surveying the damage, which is also a job we have. If there's a suspected tornado, we'll come up and look at the damage and rate the tornado. And what do I see on the bottom of that flat bed there? This man's spotter training certificate from May 2000. So in this case, the training was given, like 13 years earlier, and there it was, right? So that was kind of an odd thing. But in that case, he was very weather aware as a spotter, and he knew what to look for, and he took some last-minute action and ended up protecting himself. So, when is severe weather season in this area? The real answer there is all year round. But there is a peak as far as thunderstorm-related severe weather that's in April and May. So we typically don't do any of these classes in April and May because we're often very busy, with actual severe weather. So, but we can get tornadoes and other severe weather any month out in the year. Of course, we have more of our tropical type severe weather in August and September, and even a little bit in October. There definitely is a peak there in April and May, and that's certainly been borne out in the last 5 or 6 years, when we've had multiple floods in that April-May time frame, and some significant tornadoes as well. So, appreciate your being here. What's a report? This is on your handout. If you didn't get a handout, you can grab one at the break. Basically, anything on this list we need to know about. Hail of any size, could be pea size, could be grapefruit size. Thunderstorm wind damage to trees, structures. Anyone have an anemometer, something that measures the wind? Anyone? Yeah, that's quite a few.
You
For
have
a
one.
group
What-
this size. You
you
can,
have a
let us know your measured wind gust. I'd say anything over 40 miles per hour, 58 miles per hour is defined as severe. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Tornadoes, water spouts, which are basically tornadoes over water. If you see a tornado, let us know, but of course, protect yourself first, right? We don't want you all sitting outside with your camera, with all kinds of debris flying around. Flooding, what I mean by that is streams, creeks coming out of their banks, roads becoming impassable. Let us know when and where that's occurring. Funnel clouds, wall clouds, I'll show you a bunch of examples of those in the training. And then storm damage from any of the above, including lightning though also. If you have a lightning fire, let us know. Now, you can, obviously it's best to know this as things are occurring, but even if you come to find out about damage the next day, please let us know. So in the case of the damage I was speaking of earlier, we had a storm that we were fairly confident was producing hail and damage, but it was in a very rural part of the county. So I sort of cold call. I think it was at one of the Trinity Basin offices that happened to be in that area, and they were able to give me some good information.
Actually, that's how I come into contact with you, because I
Right.
called our office
Yeah.
about a storm that was down at Champion Lake, and I just so happened to be there
Right.
that afternoon that he was asking about in that storm, and it was really bad.
It was, I was working the radar, and I'm like, I know there was severe weather there, but it's in a fairly remote area, and that's often the case. We may have a storm we don't have, but if we don't have a spotter or some other, some eyes in that area, it can be hard to usually verify that. So that's what to report. Again, it's on your handout. Also, this is on your handout. How to report. That 1-800 number is designated for severe weather reports. There is actually, let me make sure. There is actually another phone number here if you want to call for some non-emergency information. Like you have an outdoor event, you want to call and talk to a forecaster. You can do that during business hours at our weather office. So there's another number here. But this 1-800 number, call us up. Any ham radio folks here by chance? We got a couple. That's another great way to do it. We're on the Saltgrass Link system, so if we have a big event meeting maybe more than one morning, we'll likely have a ham radio board operator there soliciting your reports through the Saltgrass Link system, and our call sign there is WX5HGX. So phone call, ham radio, and yeah.
I was just curious if you have any spotters around like Mount Bellevue Cove area, because we had a tornado back in October.
I want to talk more. The answer is we probably don't have enough. If we have one or two, and I do remember every now and then. There's been a few possible tornadoes around Cove. I remember surveying one that may have been around that time that we did verify some damage up closer to I-10.
Yeah, it's held on my side and did some damage at my house, and then it went across and did the more damage across I-10.
Yeah, I think that was that same day, and we drove around Cove, couldn't find the damage, so let's talk after. But this is a great example of what I'm talking about.
Right.
The more spotters we have, the better we can find damage. I can tell you with the Baytown Highlands tornado of a month or so ago, do y'all remember that one? I found some damage. I went back a few days later, I found more damage, and it really is kind of an investigative process. And then there's apparently a barn that was damaged off the road that I'm still trying to track down. Where is that barn? Anyway, so it really is a little bit of investigative work, and the more people we have in those communities, the better. So we'll talk with the Greg about that code damage, maybe give you some locations on it, and we can go back and amend our report. So again, phone call, real time or next day. Let's say you talk to a neighbor, or you just find out secondhand. We welcome all that kind of information. Ham radio. Now, of course, nowadays a lot of us have these phones with cameras on them. So you don't have to, but if you want, you can add information to your report, like a photo or a video. Maybe you're taking a picture of storm damage or a hailstone or a cloud formation or whatever it is, and you want to share it with us. You can do that by emailing our ops area at this email, and this is all on your handout. Or if you choose this route, you can send us a note through social media. This is our Twitter handle, and we have Facebook too. Just do a Facebook search for NWS Houston, and you'll get it there. For this type of information, I would probably email it if you want to do it privately, or attach it to a tweet. Now, if you do this, don't be surprised if every TV station around is saying, "Can we use your photo? Click here." And so, if you don't mind that, that's a possibility too. You can read the fine print on those. Sometimes you click on this legal agreement, and it will basically give them the right to almost own your photo. You don't necessarily want to do that, but anyway, the point here is that if you do use Twitter, then you're sharing it with everyone, which is good. Yes.
Contact my kids.
I know that I sit kind of in between the two, the Lake Charles and here. For some reason, if I send it to you and it goes to Lake Charles, do y'all get that information to them, or do I need to make sure where I'm sending it to?
We would relay it. What I would do is
Make sure where you're sending it.
yeah, if you send it to us and let us know where the report is for, we will forward it to Lake Charles. So that's not a problem. But I'll make sure you have both.
Okay.
So depending on where you're at, you can pick the right number to get one direct.
Because I'm sure a lot of people travel, and I know there's some people that live, they go to different places. I mean, if they see storm damage somewhere else, tracking the weather station down might be a issue or whatever.
No, absolutely. I'll give you another example. I was traveling in Virginia. I saw severe weather. I didn't know the local office's info. This is pre-social media. And so I called the weather office I worked at and said, "Can you let the office in Virginia know?" So yeah, we'd be happy to do that. Even if you're traveling, not even nearby, we can relay the information very easily. All right. All right, so again, that's what to report, how to report it, a little bit more on the reports. Very simple: what, when, and where, and who for that matter. You can say, "I'm so-and-so, I'm a trained spotter, and here's what I am seeing." Go ahead, Tim. Example 1, nickel-sized hail falling right now, Williams Trace Road near 59. So you can see the what, nickel-sized hail, the when right now, and the location in this case is given by a nearby intersection. The location, you can use an address, an intersection, you can use a lat line if you want. You can take that information all those different ways. Okay. Next example, this is more of a wind damage example, trees down and roof damage to a house near the intersection of FM 646 and Walker Road in Lake City. That's the weather office, actually. And so the difference here is that the damage occurred a little bit earlier. So, and that's really the time we need to write down is when the damage occurred as best we know it, and not necessarily the time of the phone call. Next. Now take a look at example 3. It's a little bit different. You may have this situation where you're driving from work to home, from school to home, home to school, and you come across some storm damage. At least you believe it to be storm damage, but you don't know when it occurred. That's okay. Just let us know the what and the where in that case, and we can look back at the weather radar and come up with a time. So even if you don't know the time, that's fine. And again, here's a case where a latitude longitude was used. And didn't used to have this example, but I got that question fairly often. Can we use coordinates? And the answer is yes. Yes, sir.
Do any of these phone numbers allow like a text message if your phone lines are busy?
Good question. We don't have really a text message system set up yet. And I've never known the phone lines to be busy because they will roll over. And we have a number of lines. So even if two people are calling at the same time, we should get that information. Now there is a second phone number on your sheet as a backup. But yeah, we don't have a texting capability. I'll show you another sort of an app type thing in a moment that is similar to what you're talking about.
Also, if you're in an area maybe you don't know exactly what the location is, you have a photo, can you geotag off a photo to
Yes,
check location?
Yeah, great point. If on your phone you are allowing a geotag, a lat long assignment, then yes, we absolutely can take that photo, look at the information screen for the photo, and you get a lat line. So yeah, that's a great point. If you don't know exactly where you are, if you want to send us a photo, and on your camera you're allowing geotagging, then that's another way. That's a good point. All right. And again, so keep that number handy. In fact, what I strongly recommend is if you have a smartphone, to create a contact. Or if you don't have a smartphone, if you have a computer, you can create a contact as well, where you store all that information. The hotline phone number, the email, I even threw in, our website, our Facebook and Twitter link as well. That way it's all there with you all the time. You don't have to be fishing around for that sheet of paper. And so now it's just a simple matter of tapping on the phone number, you're calling in your report. If you want to send follow-up information, you can tap on the email, attach your photo. Maybe it's a geotag photo so that we can see the lat line. That's totally up to you. And it's very quick, you're ready to go. So sometime today or tomorrow, I would go ahead and do that while you're thinking of it. That way you're all set. Now, yes.
On that fact, we said that the one line is going away.
Oh, no, okay. Yeah, no, I'm glad you noticed that, and I have to fix that slide. It is not going away anymore, so don't worry about that. There was talk, that we would eliminate that line, and, of course, I fought against that, and, so, yeah, that's not the case. That 800 number is good until further notice. I keep fixing that slide, but the old version keeps coming back, so.
That's the one you sent me. You sent me that PowerPoint, so.
No, it's all on me. It's on me. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But it's funny that I just don't even notice that anymore. But yeah, I have to fix that once and for all. All right. So there is something out there called MPing that I want to mention, but I want to emphasize this does not take the place of the Skyward reporting that I talked about. This is something separate. It's actually put together by the National Severe Storms Laboratory. You can download this app to your phone, MPing, and it's a way to enter all kinds of weather information. You submit your report and it puts it on a map. So this could be, anything from it's raining or it's sleeting. Precipitation type is one thing you can enter, or you can enter hail and hail size as well. And so if you want to play around with this app, you can. But I really do want to make sure you are still calling the weather office first if it's severe weather. But it's something you can play around with. Again, it's called MPing. And it's good for things like precipitation type. Let's say, we're getting into colder weather now. Let's say we have some sleet here in Liberty. Well, you can actually enter that on the MPing app, and it'll get plotted on the map, and it will get looked at. And I do have the MPing link on the handout as well. Reporting hail, we're looking for the size of the hail. Here's some different examples of some pretty large hail, about 3-inch hail in some cases. How big is the hail? Where and when did it occur? Did it do any kind of damage to crops, vehicles, structures? You can measure it with a ruler after the storm. No need to run out during the storm to try to measure it, right? If you've got baseball-sized hail coming down, you don't need to be running out in that for sure. But you can measure the size, or you can compare it to an object. There is a hail-sized chart on the back of your handout. Some common objects that you can use, all the way from pea-sized, well, and here's a list as well. Pea-sized up through a series of coins, and then even some fruit in there. Yeah, I do have volleyball. I don't know if anyone's paying attention. I do have volleyball-sized hail there. I don't ever expect y'all to have to submit a volleyball-sized hail report. But that is actually the record-size hail. You can see it pictured here, over 8 inches in diameter, 2 pounds. This fell in South Dakota. The largest hail I know about in Texas is a little over 6 inches in North Texas. But we have had reports even in this area of softball-sized hail a few times. So it can happen. And so again, I'll go ahead and click one more time. Now, for severe thunderstorm warnings, we issue those for large hail and or damaging winds, and we define large hail anywhere south of that red line. So 1 inch diameter or larger. And where do we come up with that? Well, a lot of engineering studies have been done, and you really do start to see damage when you get to quarter size, especially ping pong ball size, and larger. Roof damage, damage to vehicles, and that's why we set the bar there. But we want to know about hail of any size, even if it's just pea size. Please call us, let us know again, how big is the hail, when is it occurring, and what's your location. And hail can do damage. You can see pictures there. This is from a storm in Wiley, Texas, a couple of years ago. Now, sometimes the same storms that produce very large hail produce very high winds, and even tornadoes in some cases. So high winds and large hail is kind of a recipe for damage. You can see the windows broken there in the home in the upper right. There's usually some pretty good deals on vehicles after a hailstorm. There's always an auto lot, that gets hit by hail, and that's what you see there in the lower right. And then, these poor guys there, they didn't take shelter, and now they're having to cover their head, and, you can be injured as well by hail. Many stories of that. And then also, at least a few times a year, a passenger aircraft will encounter a hail core up in the storm, and you can see why they don't want to do that. A lot of damage to that aircraft as well. So, thanks. Here's some examples of hail from our area. This happens to be down closer to where we are in Link City. It's actually Hitchcock, Santa Fe. In this case, you can see by the ruler, it's about 3-inch hail. Kind of spills over on the left side, so 2.5 plus a little bit, maybe 2 3/4 inch hail, about tennis ball size. Look at all the markings on the siding, on the road signs, huge divots from the large hail and high winds. All the police cruisers had some kind of window damage. So it can be pretty significant. And like I say, in our 23 county area, we usually get a couple reports every year of this size hail. And again, note the month, April. April, May seem to be our peak for this type of severe weather.